Aussies trapped in mortgage prisons. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, and I want to talk about mortgage prisons. Now, we're going to hear more and more about it, and a lot of it is going to be pushed out there, screaming fear. People are trapped and unable to refinance as interest rates increase. And, well, we've certainly explored interest rates increasing here on the channel. If we have a look, here's the cash rate. You can see it's skyrocketed, everyone. It certainly has gone a lot higher. And I've been tracking individual banks increasing their rates here on the Excel table. And we've been just playing with different scenarios. Usually 1.99, which is the around 2% fixed rate that a lot of people received, locked in, those of us who didn't trust the Reserve Bank. And then some of the rates here. We can see, extra home loan, owner-occupier, principal and interest variable, a LVR of 70% or less. You're looking at 4.44% now on a variable rate. So if we go over here and we put that in, 4.44, and I'm putting that in because that's probably going to be what I will jump off at, honestly. I'll probably hit something like this because I'm with Combank and I'm pretty lazy when it comes to, shopping around other than ringing up my own bank and yelling at them. So I'll be looking at about a 36% increase to my mortgage if the rates don't go any higher. And they will. And they will. But the problem is going to be, it's going to be people that have, their LVRs, their loan-to-value ratio are very high. And their mortgages are very high, regardless of what percentage they're on. If they don't have enough money, or if they don't have enough earning capacity to be able to refinance somewhere else because all of the lending criteria have changed, they're going to be trapped with one bank. Now, that's not the end of the world. It's not the best situation to be in. You want to play one off the other, but it isn't the end of the world. So I thought we'd have a look at this article here because property prices, they are falling and it's making headlines in the media. Forecasters from NAB found home prices in Sydney could drop by 175,000 by the end of next year, with the median price falling to 1.1 million. So let's look at that in context. We'll bring up asking prices in Sydney. I'll go full screen on that. We can see here, median, all houses, 1.1. We'll just do average house. We go 1.1 million. How far back in time are we going? We're going back to, 2018, 2019. So we're losing a few years of gains. Well, really, most of the gain has been in this period here, the insane FOMO diving in. Now, we've been looking at a few other things as well, where surveys have been coming out from many people just highlighting the fact that, mortgage stress is on the increase. Now, the definition of housing stress, at least, and this is the one that the ABS uses, is when low-income people spend about 30% or 30% above their gross income on housing costs. And if you happen to be paying a mortgage, that includes that. I wonder if you'd consider as well all of the other costs associated with housing. And as we looked at a video yesterday, you saw, Martin North is measuring through his survey data all of the people in mortgage stress. And it's not just Martin North, it's also Finder, and it's Roy Morgan as well. They're predicting 940,000 people at risk. And North and Morgan, they tend to look at the expenditure. Some people are actually spending more money than they're bringing in. Now, if you're in a small business and your money comes in waves, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You may get a huge payment in one moment and then it disappears a bit later. But one thing that's mentioned, and was mentioned in this article here, about credit card usage, where people are using credit cards to make ends meet. So I thought we'd have a look at just some data from APRA. Now, APRA this is their monthly data, their statistics, monthly authorized deposit-taking institution statistics. So the highlights from it. So from August, all of our financial data, all of the stuff that we get from the ABS and everywhere, it's old. It is always old by the time it goes through these organizations. So often you want to look at the banks. They have much fresher data, particularly with Combank and spending habits. I think that's quite interesting to see. And now, particularly that we're all using digital, they should be able to get the data a lot quicker. But I guess they have to catch up. So this is the most recent data. By August, we were already seeing some increases in interest rates. So people you'd expect would make some changes to their spending habits. And if we scroll down here, or if they started getting desperate, you can see here the total residential assets, cash deposits, and with financial institutions. So you can see here, deposits are still up, significant. You've got total securities, total residential loans, and finance leases. But one thing I wanted to have a look at here is credit cards. So credit cards, increased by 0.2 billion or 0.6% in August. But if we look at this chart here, look at August 2019, a few years ago, how high they were there, between 35 and 40 billion. And now we're definitely well under $30 billion in credit card debt. So we're not seeing people who are suffering from mortgage stress jump onto the credit card debt, or at least it's not being noticed in this data here. Now, hopefully, this is just people being sensible. Remember, we're always going to hear about the worst case scenarios in the media, and the statistics from the survey results are just going to be an instantaneous snapshot of that person. You don't know if it changes. We've had times where years ago when we had many staff, we had an office, and we'd have cash flow issues where builders wouldn't pay us on time, or usually the builder clients wouldn't pay us on time. We'd be working on a very big project, and I'd have, 6 figures outstanding, and you've got to make ends meet. You've got to find money somewhere. There were times when I'd have to get a cash advance to just keep the money going in because it was a quarter late with payments. That wasn't a very fun situation to be in. And I've gotten to the point now where I can pick and choose where the clients I have. But, that's the thing. Are we seeing a large, significant shift in the population so more and more people are getting desperate and are resorting to these methods? Or are we seeing a simple blip in a challenging situation that's occurring? Perhaps people need to get a wake-up call. We've all been through it. I've been through it. I've had a wake-up call now. I'm much more paranoid, shall we say. Maybe that's a good thing or it's a bad thing. So that's kind of what I'm hoping we're going to start seeing. We'll have to keep an eye on this credit card info here to see. Let's jump back and have a look at that article as well. Where is it? Here we go. Aussies in mortgage prisons. I think it's a bit dramatic here how they're playing it up. House prices are estimated to fall 156,000 in Melbourne. We can see here how far could house prices fall by the end of 2023. So Sydney is going down to 1.1 million a few years back. Melbourne, 780,000. Let me know if any of these seem affordable to you. Brisbane, 733,000. This is the thing. Brisbane has just gone insane, everyone. While we are having property price corrections, we're coming off, and this is the SQM data, we're coming off a huge high, guys. Okay, we're coming off a peak. So these corrections here, isn't this price? I remember people have been talking about all the way since back here, property's going to crash, it's going to go down 50%. So these things sound impressive and they sound scary in the media. And people who bought at these prices, they're going to be pissed, on paper at least, because they've lost a lot of money and they won't be able to refinance because their LVRs suck. So they either have to throw a lot more money into their house to pay off the mortgage, or they just have to keep going. I don't believe we will see many banks start knocking on the doors, forcing people out because their LVRs are terrible. As long as you keep making the repayments and just keep chugging along, you'll just have to ride it out. They don't want to go through the rigmarole of kicking you out because there's more cost associated with that. It's not worth it. It's easier for them if you just keep going. So if you can manage, you can keep going. then you should be okay. There will be some people that will just exit strategy, will get out because, they've over leveraged and they've gone too far. The thing that's going to concern me the most is seeing the people who were suckered in. Okay? And this is when we have a look here at these type of schemes, particularly the 5 and 2% government loan guarantee crowd that was suckered in, that didn't have a deposit saved up because it's very difficult, bloody hard to save a deposit in Australia, that was suckered in by government incentives, FOMO, and the media. They're going to be, hopefully, able to pull through. You'd hate to see them screwed. I mean, what's going to happen with this new shared equity scheme that we've got going here? If you're forced to sell at a loss, will the government take the loss and equal share to you? Or will they make you take all the loss? I don't know. You would honestly think that the government would take half the loss, but that's fair and reasonable. And we're not dealing with an organisation that's often fair and reasonable, is it? They have a tendency to screw us around a little bit sometimes. Maybe that's just me. So let's keep looking. So falling property prices have the capacity to force some borrowers into mortgage prisons where they're unable to refinance. Borrowers who recently bought with a small deposit could find their equity amount in their home falls below 20% and stays there despite making all repayments. People most likely to fall in these categories are those who borrowed at the peak of the house prices in their area with small deposits such as first home buyers. So it's going to be all of these people that FOMO'd in. There'll be a lot of them that just didn't have enough of a deposit. And, well, you're just going to have to put up with it. You're not going to sell at a loss if you don't have to. You still have the utility of your home if it's a house that you own. If it's an investment property, that may be another story, depending on how many you have, and if you can recoup it through the rent and what your long-term strategy is. Rate City analysis found if someone bought a median house in Sydney in 2021 with a 5% deposit, they could owe the bank 5% more than the house is worth by the end of 2023. Yeah, so you could be in negative equity if you bought a median priced house in Sydney with just 5%. Is that the end of the world? It's going to suck. You probably shouldn't have FOMO'd in, but are you going to sell? No, that's all the more reason. If you're in negative equity, you're going to just hold on. You're going to keep it. And the biggest issue will be marriage or relationship breakdown. That's what happens, and that's where a lot of people are forced to sell. And we're facing tougher economic times. We're potentially heading into a recession. Someone loses their job. There's a lot of financial stress, and that's the biggest stressor in a relationship. That's what I could see happening. Sadly, that is. Melbourne. Okay, if you had a deposit size of 5%, you could be 10% in negative equity, 4% if you had a deposit of 10%, and if you had a 20% deposit, you'd still have 7% equity in it. That's a harsh reality, guys. This is people buying at the peak. Now, the question is, will property continue to fall, or will it plateau? And how long will people have to stay at this situation? Well, let's just have a look at this slide here. This is one of the factors that we need to take into account. Immigration to Australia is increasing once again. Look at that, guys. Look how high it's shooting if you annualize it. We've also got construction costs are going to go up. In addition to all the supply chain issues, we have legislation which is driving up building costs. So that's going to add support to existing property. You've got supply costs going up, material costs going up, migration going up, the construction apocalypse. We've got builders going under left, right, and centre as well. So that's going to hamper supply. So guys, I just thought we'd have a look at this and throw a few things out at you. The credit card information, I think, is the most interesting here, where we really haven't seen a significant movement in this. This is one to keep an eye on. And you can get this information from the APRA website. They put it out every month. It's publicly available. I have to figure out how to connect to it with my Python, but I'll get there. I've been coding all day, trying to solve problems, and I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. Well, guys, let's have a bit of a talk about this. So there we go. We've got fear of mortgage, prisons, and Australians in negative equity. Now, sure, there definitely will be some people in there, and it kind of sucks, but we don't know the situation. Maybe they bought at the height. Maybe it's just a young person that's getting in for a long-term holding. Hopefully it is. And, I mean, if you made a financial mistake, you made a financial mistake. You still have to rebuild. It's part of life. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Do you think this is a big issue? Should it be something we're worried about? And why aren't we seeing a big increase in the credit card numbers? Is it just because it's only August and we've got to wait a bit longer? What do you think? As always, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Check out my other channels, HeiseBim and HeiseSays International, for other content I create. And if you're a fan and want to support us, there are a few ways you can. Financially on YouTube or Patreon, using our referral links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or AussieBroadband, buying our pocket squares, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. And I'll see you in the next episode of HeiseSays. Now I think I have a solution to that problem.